Okay, sir. So we have talked about questions related to emotional health and well-being of the students. Now, we also have practical questions submitted by our students. One of the question is,
Sure.
amidst this pandemic, a suspected COVID patient is often being stigmatized in the society. What are the different ways to support a suspected person who is being stigmatized and being discriminated?
Right. If I heard you right, you are talking about people stigmatizing those tested positive for COVID, and how should we handle this, and what is the best response? Correct?
Yes.
Right. So firstly, I think we need to get a little educated about what COVID is, and COVID is just a viral infection. It is a viral infection which has a rate of being contagious, extremely contagious. So that's the worry about this particular pandemic. But otherwise, it is another viral infection, and of course, the mortality rate is about 1 to 1.5% out of every 100. So we don't have to actually get into a panic mode about this. Yes, we need to be very wise about not being agents that carry this and continue to spread the infection. But at the same time, we also need to be very rational in how we understand this to be just another viral fever. Now, all of us get viral fevers, especially during the rainy seasons and during the monsoons. And none of us knew the names of the viruses that we contracted because none of us brought it into mainstream media, and none of us, made it look so scary. Yes, on two counts, the COVID virus is very different than any other, flu. But besides that, there need not be an unnecessary, unhealthy panic about this whole thing. Right? That's first. The second thing that I would like to say is, once your level of knowledge and understanding about this particular issue improves, then our unnecessary, unfounded, irrational fears about people who are positive to this and us stigmatizing it will, I hope, become a lot more healthy and charitable. Right? Now, any of us could contract that infection. If somebody, because of a weak immune system or exposure to, taking care of somebody who had this virus, contracts it, we cannot be uncharitable in the way we relate with them. Yes, we need to be distant. We need to be cautious that it does not spread to us. But we should not in any way look down upon these people. It could have even been you. It could have been somebody in your own family who contracted this, especially for those doctors and nurses that are working in hospital. They are doing a selfless service to protect and take care of the community so that we can all be safe. Now, if somebody in that context gets too close and exposed to this infection and they get it, instead of being charitable and kind and loving and appreciative of the work, we are stigmatizing them. Now, that only betrays a poor understanding and a lot of selfishness at the core of our, being. Now, these are selfless people who have contracted it, but we are so selfish and we are stigmatizing them. During the Bible times, leprosy was one such skin disease where people were kept out of the city limits. And then when leprosy rehabilitation started in India, through leprosy mission, people had this wrong understanding that all strains of leprosy were contagious. But not all strains are contagious. There is only one strain out of the 4 that is contagious. And so, I think people have to be educated. There has to be a lot of information sharing, advocacy, assurance, because only the ones that do not understand the issue become so fearful and uncharitable and kind of stigmatize people. That is totally wrong, especially wrong if we are coming from a Christian worldview and faith, where we have Jesus Christ, who was moved with compassion and freely went and touched those who were unwell and healed them. We need to be precautious, but we can never stigmatize people or ostracize people or look at them as outcast or blame them or shame them. Those are all things that are very inhuman. People can even endure the COVID infection, but they cannot endure hate and misunderstanding and mistreatment. So I think we need to be better civilized people. I'm not saying go and touch them and hug them and show them you love. Stay away so that you are safe, but at the same time, don't make them feel less than human just because a virus has come and invaded their body, and they will eventually get well in 2 weeks. And after that, you would have spoiled all the goodwill and relationship that you had with that person because of your wrong treatment of them when they contracted this infection. And you also are prone to contracting it, and when people treat you like this, you're not going to like it. So we have to be charitable, loving, kind, and understanding, especially at this time. And together we can win this pandemic, not out of fear and hate.
Right. Okay. So my last question, sir, is with regard to striking a balance between work at home, studies, online classes, and recreational activities. Now, a lot of our students are being advised to stay at home, mostly because our educational institutions are being closed down. So how can you suggest to our students, how can our students manage and balance the time between these three?
Right. So one of the big challenges of this lockdown has been that we earlier used to live lives that were set to a schedule. So we wake up in the morning, we have our breakfast, and then we rush for work or rush for college. And then we take a lunch break, and then again in the evening after classes are over or work is over, come home, spend some time with the family, have dinner and have some light recreation, watch TV, whatever, and then pray and sleep. So what has been happening there is, without us realizing, there has been a routine, okay, a home routine, a college routine or a work routine, and a family routine. But now, because of the lockdown, all these routines are scrapped off. We suddenly have more time at home. We suddenly have more time with our family members. And for some of us who are studying, we don't have to sit, in a class for 6 hours, 8 hours. We can be very flexible in how we do that, when we do that. And for some of us who are working, who don't have to punch in and punch out at a particular time, our work is generally stretched out a bit, and we just have to, deliver certain things, and there is no strictness about routines. While this is nice for a certain amount of time, by giving us a little freedom and relaxation, if this continues for a long time, then our lives become disorderly. So we wake up whenever we want, we eat whenever we want, we study whenever we want, and we sign off from online classes or sign off from work whenever we want. So I think man is a being that thrives well in order. That is why even when you're looking at the Bible, initially there was so much of chaos, and God seems to be putting order in things, right? And there is also order in evening and morning, day 1, evening and morning, day 2, and on the 7th day, a day of rest. All of these are talking about an idea of order and an idea of routine and an idea of pattern and discipline. I think that's very essential for human thriving. Though we don't like rules, though we don't like, to do this and that at this time and that time, and we feel exhausted, there is an inherent, benefit in timeliness and orderliness, right? So during this pandemic, I think young people, old people, students, staff, everybody needs to somehow weave in that idea of order and routine into our daily lives. Okay, now somebody is not dictating that order to you, and if you're not a self-driven or motivated person, you will just continue to, be very slack and laid back. But you have to come up with your own schedules and routines. It need not be as rigorous as your institution recommended it, but you should have a specific time to wake up. It can have a little buffer of half an hour this way, that way. You should have a specific time to sit with the Word of God. If you are, somebody who reads the Bible, you have to have some time for spirituality and quiet time. You should have some time for, your food and regular times, not erratic times. One day having breakfast at 9 o'clock, the other day having it at 12 noon. There has to be some order. Then again, there has to be some physical activity. There has to be some recreational activity. There has to be some family time. So we are supposed to draw our own timetable and routine based on, how we want to pace our lives. If we don't have any schedule, if we don't have any order, immediately we will do things as we please, and we will mess up with our body clock. The moment we mess up with our body clock, our hormones and our, internal biochemistry, the enzymes that secrete at a particular time, everything will get skewed. If everything gets skewed, we will start having certain impact in our body, at our thought level, at our bodily functional level. There will be lethargy, there will be irritation, there will be sadness, there will be no energy, a lack of, direction, and all of this can hit us and trouble us. So my best recommendation during this lockdown is have a personal schedule for various things. Hygiene in sleep, routines in food habits, routine in spiritual disciplines, routines in educational reading, routines in family time, and routines in screen time or recreation time. All are important. And definitely physical activity, half an hour of walking or running or exercising. I think all of this will help us to maintain our balance and calm during these emotionally testing times.
Right, right. So with that, we have come to the end of this program, sir. I would like to thank you so much for joining us and sharing your valuable inputs with us. And I am sure that our students and everyone in our college, to those joining us watching this program, will be highly benefited from this conversation with you. Thank you so much, sir. God bless.
Thank you so much, Dr. Ria, for having me, and thanks for all the questions. And I just hope and pray that some of the answers will be a blessing, and that together we can, not just survive this pandemic, but also thrive and flourish during this pandemic with God's help. God bless you.